Okay. I'll let you get set up, that's fine. Okay, everyone's fine? Well, good morning. Well, it's back to school today for so many Queensland school children and their families. And that means it's also back to work for so many office workers, particularly in the Brisbane CBD. Now, I know the traffic was a bit heavier this morning. I know that congestion was manifesting itself on many major roads in Brisbane. I don't like heavy traffic and I don't like congestion, but I like it today because that says people are coming back to work in their offices. And that's a good thing for the Queensland economy, particularly the economy of southeast Queensland. And it also cements this movement of workers back into the CBD, back into their offices, cements Queensland's COVID recovery leadership. This isn't the same in other parts of the country. Just look south of the border in New South Wales. If we look south of the border in New South Wales, there are still restrictions on singing and dancing in nightclubs. There are density limits continuing for businesses in New South Wales. And the government has continued to ask workers to work from home at least until the end of February. None of that is happening in Queensland. Our economy is open and we are getting people back to work, particularly in offices. Now that means in the Brisbane CBD there'll be more foot traffic. There'll be more foot traffic for retailers. There'll be more people going into cafes, going into eateries, going into restaurants, going into hospitality venues. And that's going to be good for those businesses. I'm calling on businesses to ensure their workers return to the office. Many of those businesses have already heeded that call. They're already taking that action, but we want that to continue. We want our economy and we want our community to get back to normal as quickly as possible. And we can rely on the advice of the Chief Health Officer, who has advised us that we are coming down from the peak of Omicron. Now that means in some cases still there will be the need for isolation if people test positive. It means there might be some outbreaks, particularly related to schools, but we know that we are headed in the right direction in Queensland. We've led the nation when it comes to our health response. We've led the nation when it comes to economic recovery, and that will continue. Just look at some of the retail sales data. The ABS retail sales data in December showed that we were almost consistent in our retail sales between November and December in Queensland. In New South Wales, there was a 4% drop in retail sales in December. In Victoria, there was an 8% drop. What does that mean? In the busiest trading month of the year, retail sales dropped by a combined $1.2 billion in those states, where our retail sales, even as Omicron was starting to appear in our community, remained broadly consistent. And that's what we want to continue to happen. We want to continue to ensure that our businesses can continue to stay open, continue to trade and continue to prosper. Now, I know David Crisafulli has continued to talk about business support. Well, can I suggest this to everyone here and every Queenslander? Can I suggest this? Look at the facts and don't look at his wild claims. And it's the same when it comes to the claims that he's making about integrity and the Queensland government. Look at the facts and don't look at the wild claims of David Crisafulli. Yesterday, David Crisafulli was asked about the LNP and integrity and the LNP's role in harming integrity in Queensland when they are in government. And of course, he did not answer that question. And why would he? With the most appalling record imaginable. This is a government, the LNP government, and David Crisafulli was a cabinet minister, that sought to interfere and nobble the CCC at every available opportunity. We know that. That is a matter of record. If he wants to go for business support, well, he should ring Scott Morrison. In fact, perhaps he could just text Scott Morrison. He can text Scott Morrison asking for business support, because what businesses are asking for is income support, and that is the tap that Scott Morrison turned off. And while he's at it, he could ask Scott Morrison about a genuine integrity crisis, a genuine integrity inferno, that is the dumpster fire, which is the Morrison coalition government. That is a genuine integrity crisis in this country, and David Crisafulli should talk to Scott Morrison about that. But either way, any way you look at it, when it comes to David Crisafulli and Scott Morrison, you simply cannot trust a word that they say. Happy to take some questions on that. It'll be, look, I don't think we can put an exact dollar figure on it, but what we know is we've got a great base to build from. We know our businesses have been able to open and trade, and we now want to move forward. We didn't have the drop in retail sales that happened in New South Wales and Victoria. Those businesses lost more than a combined $1 billion in retail sales in December, in their biggest month. We broadly stayed the same as November, and now we can move forward. We know in January we've had some positive economic data for Queensland. We want that to continue, and now is the day for workers to come back, to support your local businesses, to support your local cafe, and to help those businesses going forward. Just a tiny decrease, but about $40 million change between November and December, but it wasn't the $1.2 billion hit that New South Wales and Victoria took, and that shows that our retail trade continues to be strong in Queensland. Look, I was out and about in Woodridge and Logan on the weekend. We had our Waitangi Day celebration on Friday. A lot of people were gathering yesterday for a big fundraiser for Tonga. People aren't worried about that. They're worried about getting a RAT test. They're worried about getting a rapid test at an available price. And everyone is talking about the text messages about Scott Morrison, because this isn't coming from the Labor Party. It's coming from the people who know him the best, the people who know Scott Morrison the best. And I think what we see in Canberra is a paralysis now, a paralysis of government, a government that is riven by its own divisions, and that simply is not good for our nation as we continue to fight against this virus. Well, many of the claims that have been raised have been or are the subject of examination. All of Mr Summerall's claims, for example, are subject to an examination by an investigation being led by the Director General of the Department of Premier and Cabinet. So all of those matters have been or are being considered by an appropriate investigatory body. It's why our government is such a strong supporter of the CCC. We need a strong and robust anti-corruption body in Queensland. That's why the Commission of Inquiry led by Tony Fitzgerald is so important, to make sure we have got a fit-for-purpose anti-corruption body for our state, which have some of the strongest powers in the country. And that is so important. We strongly support the CCC, we strongly support its powers to investigate, but we need to make sure it is fit for purpose going forward. And the best person to give us that advice, of course, is Tony Fitzgerald. All right, thanks everyone, have a great day.